at what was supposed to be the most joyful dinner of our lives, where I planned to announce my long-awaited pregnancy, my husband shattered my world by admitting he's been having an affair with my closest family friend. The dining room glowed with the golden warmth of candlelight, the kind of cozy ambience that suggested nothing but joy and celebration. The scent of rosemary and garlic drifted from the oven, mingling with the sweet vanilla aroma of the cake I'd baked earlier that afternoon. Everything was perfect, or as close to perfect as I could make it. I adjusted the napkins for the third time, smoothing the edges as my hands trembled slightly. It wasn't nerves exactly, but something deeper. Excitement. Anticipation. Tonight was the night. After years of fertility treatments, endless doctor's appointments, and countless nights crying myself to sleep, it had finally happened. 2 pink lines on a test I'd stared at until my vision blurred. The doctor had confirmed it last week, I was pregnant. And tonight, I was going to tell Jason. "Honey, something smells amazing." Jason's voice floated in from the living room. "Just finishing up," I called back, my voice light. "Go ahead and pour the wine." "Well, not for me," I thought with a secret smile. Jason appeared in the doorway a moment later, a bottle of red in one hand and 2 glasses in the other. He looked effortlessly handsome, as always, his dark hair slightly mussed and his shirt rolled up at the sleeves. "You've really outdone yourself," he said, his eyes sweeping over the table. "What's the occasion?" "You'll see," I teased, taking the glasses from him and setting one aside. He poured himself a generous amount and raised the glass to his lips, pausing to peer at me. "Not drinking tonight?" "Nope," I said, grinning. "Let's eat first. Then we'll get to the surprise." He arched an eyebrow but didn't press further, taking a sip before settling into his chair. Just as I was about to serve the roasted chicken, the doorbell rang. "Oh, I forgot to tell you," Jason began, but I was already heading to the door. When I opened it, my heart sank. There stood Carla, my closest friend and practically family, holding a bottle of champagne and a bright smile. "Carla," I said, forcing a grin. "I wasn't expecting you tonight." "Jason invited me," she said, stepping inside and brushing a kiss on my cheek. "Said you had big news and thought I should be here for it." I froze for a split second, my mind scrambling. Jason had invited her? Why would he do that? This was supposed to be an intimate moment for us. But before I could dwell on it, Carla's laughter rang out, and Jason appeared behind me, his expression unusually stiff. "Hey," he said, avoiding my gaze. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I lied, ushering Carla inside. We sat down, the 3 of us around the table that now felt far too small. As the meal began, I tried to focus on the joy I'd been planning to share, but something about Jason's behavior gnawed at me. He wasn't himself, too quiet, too tense. And Carla. Carla was acting strange, too. She laughed a little too hard at Jason's jokes, her hand brushing his arm more than once. "So," Jason said suddenly, breaking the awkward silence that had settled over us. "What's this big surprise you've been hinting at?" My heart leapt into my throat. This was it. Despite Carla's presence, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I stood, my hands trembling as I placed them on the back of my chair. "Well, it's something I've been waiting a long time to share," I began, my voice wavering slightly. Jason's eyes darted toward Carla, then back to me. "Ellie, wait," he said, his voice low. "Wait for what?" I asked, frowning. His expression was tight, his knuckles white as he gripped his wine glass. "There's something I need to say before you go any further." "What?" I asked, my stomach twisting into knots. His expression was tight, his knuckles white as he gripped his wine glass. "There's something I need to say before you go any further." "What?" I asked, my stomach twisting into knots. Carla shifted in her seat, her smile slipping as she glanced nervously between us. Jason took a deep breath, setting the glass down with a soft clink. "Ellie." I've been seeing someone else. The words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. For a moment, I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The room seemed to tilt on its axis, the flickering candlelight suddenly too bright, too hot. "You're what?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Jason looked away, his jaw tightening. "I've been having an affair." My knees buckled, and I sank into my chair, the edges of the room blurring. "No," I said, shaking my head. "No, you wouldn't do that to me." "Ellie, I'm sorry," he said, his voice heavy with something that might have been regret, or guilt. It can't, I couldn't finish the sentence. "Ellie," Carla said softly, reaching for my hand. I yanked it away, staring at her in disbelief. "You knew?" She flinched, her expression crumpling. "Ellie." My mind clicked into place. Her nervous glances, Jason's tension, the way they'd avoided each other's eyes all night. The truth was staring me in the face, so obvious now it made me sick. "It's you," I said, my voice trembling. Carla's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't deny it. "You." My voice rose, raw and broken. "My best friend. My family." "Ellie, I didn't mean for this to happen," Jason said, standing. "It just." "Don't you dare say it just happened," I snapped, slamming my hands on the table. "You chose this. Both of you." Tears blurred my vision as I stared at the two people who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. The two people I had trusted most in the world. "I was going to tell you tonight," Jason said, his voice hollow. "Before, whatever your news was." "Before my news?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "Oh, this is rich." I stood, my hands shaking as I pointed at him. "Do you want to know what my news was, Jason?" "I'm pregnant." The color drained from his face, his mouth opening and closing as if he couldn't find the words. "Pregnant?" Carla whispered, her face pale. "Yes, pregnant," I spat, glaring at her. "With his child. The man you've been sneaking around with behind my back." "Ellie, Carla started, but I cut her off. "Get out," I said, my voice low and deadly. "Ellie, please," Jason began. "Get out." I screamed, grabbing the wine bottle and slamming it onto the table. The sharp crack of glass hitting wood echoed through the room, and both Jason and Carla flinched like guilty children caught in the act. Jason took a step toward me, his hands raised as though trying to calm a raging storm. "Ellie, please, let's talk about this." "Talk about what?" I cut him off, my voice trembling with fury and heartbreak. "The fact that you've been sleeping with my best friend? The woman I trusted with everything?" I turned to Carla, my glare icy. "Or maybe you want to explain why you thought it was okay to sneak behind my back like some pathetic snake?" "Ellie, I didn't mean," Carla started, but I slammed my palm against the table, cutting her off. "Don't you dare say you didn't mean for it to happen. That's the most pathetic excuse anyone can give for destroying someone's life." My voice cracked as tears blurred my vision. Jason ran a hand through his hair, his jaw clenching. "I know we messed up, but this doesn't have to end like this." "Oh, it absolutely does," I spat, pointing toward the door. "Get your things and leave. Both of you. I don't care where you go, but you're not staying here." "Ellie, please," Carla begged, stepping forward. Her voice cracked as tears streamed down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to stop." "Stop? Stop?" I laughed bitterly, throwing my hands in the air. "You could have stopped by not betraying me in the first place. You had every chance to come to me, to tell me the truth, but no, you kept sneaking around like a coward. You both did." Jason looked at Carla, then at me, his face pale. "We were going to tell you. Tonight." "Wow," I said, shaking my head. "You were going to ruin my night in the name of honesty. How noble of you." Jason stiffened, his eyes darting to my stomach. Ellie, is it true? Are you really pregnant? The weight of his question hit me, and for a moment, the room went silent except for the sound of my uneven breathing. Yes, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I'm pregnant. And I was so excited to tell you tonight. I thought this was going to be the happiest moment of our lives. My voice broke, but I pressed on, glaring at him. And instead, you've turned it into a nightmare. Ellie, he trailed off, looking completely lost for words. Carla wrapped her arms around herself, her face pale and tear-streaked. Ellie, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'll never forgive myself for this. I just want you to know I'm sorry. Truly. Sorry? I snapped, glaring at her. Sorry fixes a broken vase, Carla. It doesn't fix this. I gestured to the chaos surrounding us. You knew what I was going through. Every struggle. Every tear. You held my hand through it all, and the whole time, you were stabbing me in the back. Carla's lip trembled, but I felt no sympathy. Not anymore. Ellie, I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, Jason said, his voice desperate. I stared at him, the man I had loved, the father of my unborn child, and I felt nothing but cold, hollow anger. You can't fix this, Jason. You made your choice. Now, I'm making mine. What does that mean? He asked, his voice shaking. It means you need to leave, I said firmly. Now. He hesitated, as if waiting for me to change my mind, but when I crossed my arms and pointed to the door again, he finally moved. Carla followed, her head bowed, her steps hesitant. She paused at the door, turning to look at me with tear-filled eyes. Ellie, for whatever it's worth. I love you. I never stopped. I laughed bitterly. You have a funny way of showing it. The door clicked shut behind them, and the silence that followed was deafening. Hours later, I sat on the floor of the living room, staring at the mess on the dining table. The candles had burned down to stubs, the food was cold and untouched, and the wine bottle sat crooked, a puddle of red staining the wood beneath it. I placed a hand on my stomach, tears sliding silently down my cheeks. It's just you and me now, little one, I whispered. But we're going to be okay. I promise. And in that moment, I felt a flicker of strength. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain, Jason and Carla were gone. And I was free to rebuild, stronger, better, and ready to fight for the happiness my baby and I deserved.